stories that I thought were worth looking at. There's a perceived problem with theft. You know, during the pandemic or the last couple of years, there's these videos of people robbing stores, and I think in San Francisco it really is outrageously out of hand because the current system here is they just forgive people, they don't charge them, and they just go right in and steal more stuff the next day. So it's ridiculous. So the stores are blocking everything in these cases, and now they're finding that that's not a very good thing. That scares away like 15% of the customers. Most customers will, a lot of customers will not wait for you to open the case, they'll just go to some other store. So this might actually damage the business more than letting people steal stuff. So they're trying to develop other techniques of handling it. And they have another one they proposed where you know, like there's the known travelers list at the airport. You can get like on the TSA list and then they don't bother searching you so much. You can register your phone and register as like a trusted shopper. And then they'll give you a code to open the case. And if you do anything bad, they'll revoke your code. So that would be another way to do it, so it isn't so irritating for the customer. They are developing various techniques to try to make it so that the thieves can't easily steal the stuff, but the customers can get it. So anyway.
There are just too many homeless in San Francisco.
Yeah,
I've seen them hang around Mission, they sell those stuff, sell it from new.
Yes. That's a big issue. And the Mission Street, 16th and Mission, BART stop is just a place where the homeless people steal stuff, sell stuff they stole from the stores in vast quantities. And so the response was just to block off the area.
They steal like a whole pack of meat from Safeway.
Yeah, a whole pack of what?
Meat.
Yeah, meat, anything. You just steal everything. And they just get away with it and sell it right outside on the sidewalk, and the cops don't do anything about it. It's crazy. So, yeah, this is the problem with San Francisco. Is we have, just like Republicans say, we're soft on crime. We just let people commit crime and do nothing. And of course, that's crazy. You can't do that. I heard interviews with Brooke Jenkins, the new DA in San Francisco, and she says she's aware of this and she wants to change it, but I think it's very difficult to change. Anyway.
They don't lock the people up. They just keep doing it.
That's right. That's right. They don't lock the people up and they just keep doing it. Anyway. Yes, a very good, yes. And that's a big problem. And in fact, you might as well go to this one. There was a guy, this guy is a Nazi. He posted him posing in a Nazi uniform on Facebook, and then he went and got a gun and shot up a Jewish synagogue. He had a blanks, though, not real bullets, but he went in there and scared everybody. And they say they're very worried because the cops took him away, but they're very afraid the cops will just let him out again, like they just let everybody out in San Francisco, and he's only like 3 blocks away, and he's a Nazi. So, and he's done other things like this before, terrorizing people, so it's only a matter of time until he progresses to getting a real gun and killing people, or at least that's how they feel. Very recently, within the last few days, in San Francisco. And that's the problem. He lives just a few blocks away from the synagogue, and he went and shot it up. And they are afraid the cops will just let him go, like they just let everybody go, so they can do it again, which is certainly what happens in San Francisco a lot. It's a very dysfunctional law and order system here. The new DA talks like she's going to do something about it, but she hasn't done anything yet that anybody can tell. Anyway, so this is actually an interesting bit of physics. Helium is really important. People use it for kids' balloons, but more importantly, it is the only cryogenic fluid to cool things to really low temperatures. Liquid helium is essential, and that's essential for NMR machines and a lot of high tech. I used to work with this stuff all the time. You need liquid helium, but the problem is helium is so light that when it escapes into the atmosphere, it flies off into space and it's gone. And it's a non-renewable resource. There's the only thing that can produce helium is like the decay of radioactive particles inside the Earth, and there's a very small amount of it, and it's very hard to save. And so they're very worried about the helium supply, and it turns out that in America is the Federal Helium Reserve. There's only one place on Earth that can actually keep a store of helium, and this is the helium reserve in a salt mine with a thick layer of salt above and below. They can pump helium down there and it will not leak out. So we have a large amount of helium there, but it's owned by the government, and for some reason, 25 years ago, they decided to save money to sell it off to private contractors who would probably just use it and it would be gone. And then the world's supply of helium would be gone. And so now they're trying to stop it from being removed from the government and just sold off to arbitrary private people who will just exploit it. But it is an interesting issue. 500 miles of pipeline from Texas to Oklahoma to Kansas, and it supplies 40% of the world's helium. So, you know, helium is really important for science, but it's a non-renewable resource. What's that? Yeah, all right. Anyway, so I was amazed by this. As everybody in computing knows, if you buy a commercial Windows machine, like a Dell laptop, it comes with all sorts of crapware on it. Some stupid backup thing, some stupid Dell update thing, some stupid Dell photo sharing thing. They add all these junk applications that are poorly written, that crash, that have security flaws to clog up your machine, and they do it basically to stuff your machine full of ads. And that's why usually my first step whenever I get a Windows machine is to wipe it clean and reinstall Windows so it'll work better. But the same thing's true of Android. I didn't realize this. Samsung is famous for this. Samsung Samsung rents out space on the system partition to any company that will pay them. They will add your system apps to the Samsung phone. So they have bloated up Android to 60 gigabytes, which is incredible. If you get a 128 gigabyte phone, half of all the storage is the operating system, and it's 4 times bigger than Google's Android, because Google made Android small so you could fit it on a phone, and Samsung has bloated it up like crazy. And so it's amazing. And they talk about, now on top of that, there's a reason why some phones have a bigger operating system, because apparently if you try to update Android, it can cause your phone to turn off and take half an hour to reboot as it updates all the system files. So there's a feature available in Google's Android where it will have 2 copies of the operating system, one to use, and you update the other while you're using this one, and then you switch. So it doesn't take so long to put on updates. And the Chromebooks do the same thing? Yeah, anyway, Samsung has turned that off. So their phones do take forever to update because they would have to have 2 copies of 60 gigs. And so it's amazing. I had no idea it was so bad, but they've actually bloated.
It's happened a long time.
They've done it a long time, you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know it was this bad. So Samsung Android is 60 gigs when it really should be like 10 gigs.
You know, in China, they just started a law. They're forbidding the cell phone makers to load up all the programs into the phone.
We could use that. So
they limit like 4 or 5 apps minimum, and the rest of them they have to allow the user to delete them.
That's good. That's a good idea. You should like to use it.
The law they passed is active now.
Yeah, I'm glad. I think we need that law here. He said in China they can't bloat the phone up with too many apps without letting you delete them. Yeah. Anyway, all these are junk you can't delete.
Yeah, you cannot delete those.
It's pretty harsh. Anyway, this I thought is pretty fun. I didn't know this. There is a thing called a Greek question mark that looks like a semicolon and it isn't. So if you put this in somebody's Bash script or JavaScript, they will be ruined. And this is a well-known thing. If you get a non-printable character in normal language, it won't compile, it won't run, and you're hosed. But one thing that's better is that Rust does not have this problem. If you do this to Rust, let's see if I can get this thing to get big. There. If you do it in Rust, then Rust will tell you this is Unicode character Greek question mark. That's the thing. Developers love Rust. More than 90% of them say they would rather use Rust than any other language. Rust does not present you with these mind-blowing, horrible problems. It has useful explanations. It crashes. It tells you what the problem is. Now you can fix it. I've had a bunch of times where I or students have just had to retype all the code because there's some character in there, we can't find it, it won't run, and you could spend hours finding it. And, you know, a good compiler would tell you. It hits an invalid character, and Rust will do it, but I'm not aware of any other language that will actually help you that way. And this is something that in an XKCD, I think it might be a recent one, that says there should be one day a year when everybody has to read this page, Wikipedia's list of common misconceptions, and I found it very interesting. I believed a lot of these things. There's a lot of things on here that people believe, like legal tender requires everyone to accept cash, which it doesn't, what Adidas stands for, where Santa Claus came from. This one I heard, that the Nova didn't sell in Spanish-speaking markets because the name means it won't go. Apparently that's not true. Stuff about Netflix, stuff about cooking. I thought the Twinkies don't last very long on the shelf. Anyway, all kinds of interesting stuff here. Amazing number of these things I have been told, and I believed them. So they're quite right. Everybody should read this page now and then. There's a whole bunch of things people tell you that are not true.
In your previous article, can you do like URL decoding to see
I don't know. I don't know. I heard once that there is some Linux program to find the unprintable characters, but I can't remember what it is, and I don't know what it is.
Could
You
you
need-
just like URL decode to see what the thing is actually?
Well, I don't know. There might be some way to do it. I'm viewing it in a hex viewer. You could hunt for a bad hex code. I guess that would be one way to do it.
Character that looks like semicolon.
Character what?
Character that looks like a semicolon. In Google.
That's right. But there'd be, if you could view it, there should be some kind of viewer that would highlight the non-standard characters.
No, I mean, it'll just show up in the web browser. It'll look like a semicolon.
Well, that's right. But I mean, that's why if you, there ought to be some way to view the file in some kind of editor that would highlight the non-standard characters, but there doesn't seem to be an easy one available. I've heard there is some Linux utility that will remove all the non-printable characters.
In low, the application Node plus
Node-
NPE plus
Notepad++?
Notepad plus it has a URL decode.
You are, okay, that might help. URL decode and Notepad+, that might be an option. Yeah, just viewing it in hex editor would do too, I guess, if you know what to look for. Yeah.
But most editors will naively show it. And I used a long time ago to code in Kate, the KDE Advanced Text Editor.
Wow.
That's what I had. And there were some characters that it didn't print at all. So you saw all that code.
Yes, that's happened to me. You just can't even see the character. Yeah.
Between two visible characters,
Yes.
there was something there that made
Yeah, there's
sense.
invisible characters, there's a zero width space, there's a bunch of invisible characters that will ruin your code.
So yeah, I think this is mostly a question of how the editors work now, and they're obviously better now than they used to be.
Yeah,
But, so that one must be particularly tricky, because even if you see everything, that one will look correct.
that's right, that's right.
So that's
Yeah.
why Rust does better. But, I mean, Python was amazingly good at error messages.
Oh, Python, that's good, yeah.
But I once had a problem when I absentmindedly put brackets instead of parentheses.
Right.
And to run a function. And the message I got seemed completely unrelated. So
Yes,
when a language gets more commonly used, its need to really, really be relevant sort of gets less pressing. So Rust is new and everybody loves it, so it's really shining there. We'll see how it evolves.
yeah, we'll see.
The
Yep.
Notepad plus editor is the most modern.
Notepad+ is what?
It's the most modern editor.
The most modern, yeah, that's good. Yep, Notepad+ might do it. All right.